3 women disappeared in broad daylight while relaxing on the beach at Indiana Dunes State Park in Porter County, Indiana on July 2, 1966. What was supposed to be a celebration of America's independence and freedom turned to a massive manhunt. It was 4th of July weekend, but these 3 young women encountered something mysterious that put an end to the lighthearted celebration, and instead of fireworks, they saw only misfortune. This beautiful state park from where they went missing is bordered by Lake Michigan and was a popular swimming and lounging destination for locals and tourists alike due to its pristine beaches, magnificent dunes, forests, marshes, and swamps. But the location would soon take on a much more sinister atmosphere. Renee Bruhl, maiden name Slinecko, 19, was 5 foot 9 inches with brown hair and hazel eyes. She was last seen wearing a ruffled yellow bathing suit. Ann Miller, 21, was 5 foot 2 with brown hair and blue eyes. She was last seen wearing a 2-piece bathing suit with a red belt. Patricia Blough, 19, was 5'4 with brown hair and brown eyes. Last seen in her bathing suit, which was brown with green flowers and golden leaves. These 3 close friends made the 60-mile drive together from their respective homes in the Chicago area and arrived at the lake around 10 a.m. and parked their car, a Buick, owned by Ann Miller, in the lot about 100 yards from where they would set up their towel. While it was the start of a busy weekend, with the Park Service estimating 9,000 people in attendance that day, the girls did not go completely unnoticed. A couple noticed them at noon that same day leave their things, including a transistor radio and a jar of tanning lotion, on their beach blanket and enter the waters of the lake. Soon after entering the lake, the couple witnessed the 3 ladies speaking with a man who was on a 14 to 16-foot boat. Soon after they began speaking to him, they boarded his boat, which had an outboard motor and blue interior, and reportedly they headed west. The couple thought nothing of this series of actions until around dusk that same day, when they noticed all the girls' belongings still laying on the beach where they had been left many hours before. This drew the couple's suspicions, as it seemed the girls had abandoned their valuables, which park rangers would later learn included cash and their car keys, and left them vulnerable to theft. The couple was so stricken by the strange behavior of the girls having left their belongings on the beach as night fell that they alerted a park ranger. The park ranger collected the girls' things, including their cigarettes, car keys, and wallets with money still in them, and stowed them safely away at the park's superintendent's office, where they sat until the investigation into the girls' disappearances officially began. It was Renee's father who first raised the alarm of the missing woman, when by July 4th, 2 days later, he hadn't heard from them. Renee had specifically planned on being back before the evening of July 2nd, as she stated that she had intended to cook dinner for her husband. After families of the 3 women filed missing persons reports, park rangers went searching for the car that they arrived in and found it still sitting in the same parking space in the parking lot. Once an official search started on July 5th, more witnesses came forward, having recalled seeing the girls boarding a boat. One beachgoer offered his camera footage from the day, and based on those reels, police were able to pinpoint 2 boats that they believed could be involved. One was a 16 to 18-foot boat captained by a single man fitting the witness description of the man the women were seen speaking with, tan with dark hair. The other was a larger boat, 26 to 28 feet, being operated by 3 men. Both boats showed in the camera's footage had 3 female passengers on them, matching the features of the ladies, so both were considered possibilities. In fact, authorities believe that both images, taken almost 3 hours apart, could be of the women, as some witnesses say the smaller boat dropped the girls off on shore, where they may have been seen eating and walking in the sand before being approached by a separate unknown male. After talking to this separate man, all 4 were picked up by the other, larger boat, a cabin cruiser, this time with 2 other men on it. Many believed it was strange that Renee's husband of 15 months didn't call in a missing persons report sooner. Rumors circulated after a note was found in Renee's purse from that day, addressed to her husband. The note complained that the husband had his priorities misaligned and that he spent too much time fixing hot rod cars with friends and not enough time on their marriage. Friends and family of the couple, though, say there were no major marriage problems, and that Renee probably wrote that note when she was feeling angry in order to vent, and the fact that it was still in her purse confirms she never gave it to her husband. Renee was the only married woman of the group, but not the only one with personal problems. Ann Miller had told friends a few days prior that she was 3 months pregnant. She discussed her plans to enter a house for unwed mothers. She had been having an affair with a married man and therefore could not be with him. It is also rumored that Patricia, the third friend, was also pregnant, also by a married man. Based on these pregnancy rumors, there is a theory that the women were actually scheduled to have illegal abortions that day. One fact that substantiates this rumor is the sighting of Ralph Largo Jr., whose physical traits matched the description of the man on the boat. He confirmed he was at the beach that day. Largo's aunt, with whom he lived, was in the business of performing illegal abortions for women in need. Did the woman board the boat in order to get the procedure done secretly, as it was illegal at the time in that state? Some wonder if the procedure went awry and caused the death of the girls, which needed to be covered up. But then, what happened to Renee? Was she pregnant too? That would be a huge coincidence. Or did she witness the deaths and need to be quieted as well? Ralph Largo Jr. died in 2009, so he can provide no answers. Another theory is that the boat they were on encountered trouble and crashed. Some debris from an apparent boating accident were found near Bailey Generating Station of Northern Indiana Public Service Company on Lake Michigan a few days after July 2nd. However, the families of the 3 girls say that accidental drowning was not likely, as all 3 girls were experienced swimmers. In fact, Patricia was known to be able to swim 20 miles in one day, with Anne having similar skills. There's another angle to this case, the so-called horse syndicate connection. This theory involves the 3 ladies' common love, riding and caring for horses. All 3 ladies frequented the Tri-Color Stables in Palatine, Illinois, and knew George Jane, who was a well-known and wealthy horse dealer. George Jane had a bitter feud over horse finances with his brother, Silas Jane, a notorious leader of the so-called Horse Syndicate, an underground club of some sort that dealt with the buying, selling, and betting of racehorses. The brothers' frequent and intense fighting had actually resulted in the death of a young woman months prior. Cheryl Ann Rood, a successful equestrian, was asked by George to move his Cadillac for him, but in carrying out this task for him, she got into a car that was rigged with explosives. The car bomb was triggered by the engine starting, and Cheryl was killed instantly. The bomb was thought to be placed by an associate of Silas's and meant for George as retaliation for some horse-related feud they'd been having. Court documents show that the prosecution believed an arsonist was paid $10,000 to place the bomb that killed Cheryl, and the arsonist was subsequently sentenced to life in prison almost 30 years after the actual crime. George was so fearful of a subsequent car bomb attack that he rigged a tool that could turn on a car's ignition without physically getting in the vehicle. It is theorized that the 3 missing women may have witnessed the planting of this bomb or some other nefarious act, and that their deaths were related to the incident. The girls also rode at Silas's stable, even though they boarded their horses at George's stable. 4 months prior, when Renee came home with a facial injury, she cryptically blamed the laceration on issues with, quote, the syndicate people. Additionally, the phone numbers of both George and Silas Jane were found among the girls' abandoned possessions. Eliminating witnesses would not be out of character for Silas Jane, who was known to be cold-blooded, cunning, and brutal. The owner of a rival horse training business, Idle Hour Stable, he had a reputation for taking advantage of the young women of rich Chicago parents who desired to learn to ride and had no shame in mixing his criminal activities with his stable. Silas is connected to numerous felonies, including the rape of a young woman while he was a teenager, conspiracy to kill his brother George, covering up his employee's murder of 3 young boys, known as the Peterson-Schulisser murders, and a shootout with police that resulted in the death of an officer. Silas is also connected to the death of an older woman, Helen Brock, who spent over $250,000 on horses and may have gotten caught up with Silas's horse gang, known sometimes as the Horse Syndicate, and other times as the Jane Gang. Silas was said to be a sociopath with early childhood proclivities for murder. At the young age of 8, he was bitten by a goose on his family farm and was so enraged that he killed each and every goose on the property. At least 11 horse deaths are also connected to him, and he seemed to take his anger at his brother out on his brother's prized horses, including the burning of 10 of them alive in George's barn. He also injected one prize-winning mare with turpentine. Given the long list of deaths that followed his career, it is not hard to imagine him being involved with the missing women. George, his brother, was shot to death while at his son's birthday party. There's also information that Silas, prior to his leukemia-related death in 1987, told the sheriff that he had 3 bodies buried under his stable. But that sheriff mysteriously died in a farming accident before an investigation was opened, and no one ever followed up. Silas also had a boat that matched descriptions of the one the girls were seen boarding, but despite Silas's gruesome past, there are only tenuous leads that connect him and the 3 ladies directly. No concrete clues have surfaced, mostly in part because there were no bodies, and as they say, no body, no crime. To this day, the 3 women are considered endangered missing, and their families still hold out hope that new clues will surface. The case remains open, but is inactive. If you have any information about this case, please contact the Indiana State Police at 219-269-4747.